The following video was recorded on location in my state-of-the-art office in the corner of my first floor apartment. If you like what you're about to hear, please like, comment, share, subscribe, and hit that notification bell in the upper right corner.
Hi, Josh.
Hey, how's it going?
Oh, well, thank you very much. Going very well. Nice weather today, so all good.
Oh, fantastic. Well, once again, thank you very much for taking the time to talk to me. Last year was a fantastic time for me, being able to talk about the theater equation. And now...
Right, yes.
Yes, and in that time, I remember in the interview, you were talking about how you were writing new music, and you weren't entirely sure which direction it was going to be going in. You didn't know if it was going to be solo music, you didn't know if it was going to be Star One, but it ended up being the brand new Ayreon album, The Source.
True.
So, what went into the writing process for the new album?
It's always the way it works for me. You know, I just start and ideas come to me. You know, it's like a little idea on the guitar, a little melody or a few chords, and I record it. And I really have no idea what it will turn into. You know, I do plan, but then I never ever stick to the plan. Like I told you last time. You know, it could have been a solo album, but then it gets a little bit too heavy, and it's like, oh no, it's too heavy. I can't sing this myself, so maybe it's a Star One. And then, I work with Star One in mind, and then suddenly, I get this part with violins and flutes, this folky part, and it's like, oh no, that doesn't fit in Star One. And then, slowly it grows into an Ayreon album. So I can't plan these things, which is good, I had to learn that, because in the past I wanted to stick to what I had in mind, and it was like, but this is way better, just keep changing and keep improving it, really.
Yeah, and when you do it that way, you're not forcing anything. You're just letting the music speak naturally, and that always makes for the best music.
It's true. Yeah. It's I work that way all the time. Also, when I work with singers in my studio, it's like, okay, we have a basic idea, but we can just move away from it entirely. We can change it totally. As long as it gets better.
Yeah. And speaking of that, I mean, every time that I see you work on a collaboration album with Ayreon or Star One or any of the projects that you've been a part of, I constantly keep thinking that you can't possibly get a better lineup, but you proved me wrong once again with The Source.
I know.
It's just an incredible lineup from start to finish.
I know, yeah. Well, a couple of times I limited myself, like on the Human Equation and the Theory of Everything. I limited myself by saying I just want to work with people I've never worked with before, which is a cool idea, and a great way to introduce new people to the audience. But this album, I was like, no, damn it, I want the best singers in the world, really. I see this album as a new start, kind of. It's a new record company, it's called The Source, and I was like, it doesn't matter if I worked with people before or not, because some of them are the best in the world, and like Tommy and Russell and Floor and Hansi, and then I think it's about 50-50 now. 50% people I've worked with before and 50% new people.
Yeah, and there are so many names that I've wanted to see you work with in the past that are finally showing up on The Source. I mean, whether you got Tommy from Between the Buried and Me or Tommy from Camelot and Seventh Wonder, I mean, you're really covering all the aspects of what I love about heavier prog music in an Ayreon album once again.
Cool. Yeah, that's the idea, to broaden people's horizon, broaden my own horizon, and most of all, I want distinctive voices. I don't want voices that sound similar. Sometimes you hear these projects and it's all people like screaming and then singing really high, and it's like, which one is this? Which one is this? I like it when it's really distinctive voices. That was a very important thing for this album.
Yeah, and that's the great thing about having some of the best voices in music, is that all the voices are so distinctive.
Yeah, you know them, like people know Dream Theater, and you hear James LaBrie, and it's like instantly, okay, there can only be one.
Yeah, and what was it like going back and working with some of the more prominent names that you worked with, like James LaBrie, I mean, who pretty much stars in The Human Equation, and now having him back again for The Source?
I think the roots of that were planted when we did the theater equation thing. Of course, he played the main role in the theater play of The Human Equation, and he did such a great job there. And after the show, we were talking, and I said, well, you know, if I ever do a new album, would you? And he didn't even let me finish my sentence. He said, of course, man, I'll be there. And for this album, I was first thinking of a narrator, but then I thought, no, not a narrator, you know, that I did that before, and maybe I can have someone like kind of introduce the songs, like someone who tells the story, but singing, you know, not speaking voice. And James does that so well, you know, when he sings low with a beautiful, warm, emotive voice, and he puts so much emotion in it. So I think he was the first choice for me for this album.
Was there anyone that you reached out to that couldn't do the album this time around, or were all the names that you wanted able to make it onto the album?
Well, that changes. You know, I know from experience there's always people who are gonna not do it at some point. So I always make sure that I have like 20 people that could basically do it. And so yeah, there are always people who were supposed to be on it, but then at some point, you know, they couldn't do it, or they got a tour offered somewhere, or you know, they had voice problems or whatever. So yeah, that happens every time.
And along with that, was there anyone that appears on the album this time around that may not have been familiar with what you do, that I don't want to say reprehensive to doing it, but just weren't familiar until they started to know about the project?
I think I have to go over the list here. No, I was expecting Tommy Rogers not to know my shit. You know, I thought he's probably like, who is this old fucker, you know, with his pretentious rock opera music. But he was like, oh no, man, I know your stuff, I love your stuff, want to be part of it. Let me go through the list. I think all singers knew about me. I'm not sure if Paul Gilbert and Guthrie Govan knew about me. So they had to be convinced, you know, they had to be like, okay, send me the part and see if it inspires me, stuff like that.
Yeah, I can imagine that happens sometimes. I mean, in my mind, you're one of the biggest and best musicians and masterminds out there, but to other musicians out there, they may not be familiar, but once they actually check out what you do, then they'll be more inspired.
Well, with Mark Kelly, it was actually funny, because Mark Kelly from Marillion, he didn't know who I was, but he was a huge fan of the Guilt Machine project. It's one of his favorite albums of all time, and I was like, well, man, that's me. But he knew Guilt Machine, but he didn't really know Ayreon, so that's cool. And he checked it out, and then he liked it, and. Yeah, with Paul Gilbert and Guthrie, I didn't even ask them if they knew me. You know, I'm not sure if they must have heard about me, you know, somehow, but maybe never listened to my music. Of course, that's possible too. But I think none of these guys would have done it if they would have hated my music. At least I hope not.
Well, that's the great thing about music discovery. I mean, just like you mentioned about the Guilt Machine album, it's like, I could see how someone would not necessarily know that was you on creating the music. And then when they find out about Ayreon, they can see all the range that you have, because none of your projects sound the same, but they all, once you really start to know your style of writing, you can tell it's you after you divulge in.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I always say like Ayreon is the mothership. You know, Ayreon has all the styles, and in between Ayreon albums, I always like to do a side project, and it's always one of the styles of Ayreon. Like Star One, I just pick out the metal style from Ayreon and concentrate on that and limit myself to that. Or Gentle Storm was more the folky side of Ayreon, and Guilt Machine was more the darker, atmospheric side, more Floydy side of Ayreon. So yeah, that keeps it interesting for me, and I hope for the fans too.
In speaking of that, I had the tremendous opportunity to see the incarnation of the Gentle Storm in North America last year at Prog Power USA.
Oh, great.
Yeah, and that was one of my favorite sets that I've ever seen, and I was so happy to see that there was actually Ayreon covers that were being played as well. I mean, as much as I love the Gentle Storm album, it was great to see acoustic versions of Ayreon songs being played as well. And with that, how do you feel about that lineup now becoming a full-fledged original band?
You mean them turning into Vuur?
Yes.
Yeah, well, how do I feel about it? Yeah, I just wish them luck, It's such a good band. These musicians are truly amazing. It's basically the same musicians that I use also for the Ayreon shows in September, the Ayreon Universe. I remember the first time I saw the Gentle Storm and I saw that band, I had tears in my eyes. I just saw the soundcheck of the first show ever they did, and it sounded like a machine, It's such a great band.
Oh, that's fantastic. And I was gonna bring that up a little bit later, but since you brought it up, the Ayreon experience, the live shows that are going to be coming up. It's great to see that. With last year with the Theater Equation coming out as a live release, but now there's going to be even more Ayreon live. How did this all come together?
I think the catalyst was definitely the Theater Equation, because I wasn't very much involved in that. I mean, I chose the musicians and I kind of fixed a lot of stuff in the last weeks, but apart from that, I wasn't really involved in it. But of course, I was there, and of course, I was on stage looking into the audience, and I saw people crying, I saw people smiling, and it brought out so many emotions. And of course it was sold out 4 times, and at that point I was like, damn it, we have to do like a full Ayreon rock show, like a best of Ayreon. So that's where it all started basically.
And with that, I know it's still a ways away, but are you thinking about how the production's going to be going into it, the set list, everything like that yet?
Well, this takes 2 years of work to set this up. So we started 1.5 years ago. So yeah, everything is pretty much mapped out already. I've got the whole set list ready, and the band already started rehearsing. But there's a lot to be arranged, because yeah, it's 16 singers, 10 musicians on stage. There's going to be a LED screen with lots of visuals, and it's going to be a big thing, and it's going to be another half year of hard work to put this all together. In fact, we're making this whole video a storyboard really, where minute by minute, okay, this happens, then this person goes off stage, then the spotlight goes on him, then this happens on the screen, then the lights do this, and a lot of work, but it's fun to work on that.
And I would imagine with that would also get a Blu-ray DVD release as well, right?
Absolutely, yeah. That's because we never expected it to sell out this fast. I mean, it holds 3,000 people, this venue. So we thought we would be lucky to fill it like once. But then it would, the first hour, the first show was sold out. Second hour, the second show was sold out. And so we added a third show, which was gone the next day. And, 9,000 people, it's incredible in one day. And obviously there's going to be a lot of people who can't come. So we made damn sure that it will be filmed. We will film 2 shows, we don't want to take any risks. And it will definitely be Blu-ray and DVD.
Oh, fantastic. And I was one of those unfortunate ones that was not able to secure a ticket.
Sorry, man. Sorry.
Oh, that is quite all right. But but with that said, I will be one of the first day buyers when that becomes available, because there's nothing I can look forward to more than seeing this experience from home.
Great.
So getting back a little bit more into the source, there's a lot of recaps musically, lyrically, that goes back into the earlier Ayreon albums. Was this something that you were planning as you were writing, or did it just come together like that?
The moment I saw the artwork, this time I started with the artwork. It was the other way around. Usually I look for the artwork when I'm all finished, but this time I was like, okay, let's look for artwork, let's get inspired. The artwork brought me back to the whole Forever Planet Y story, because I abandoned that with the album 011001. It was like, okay, now it's over, it's getting too complicated, the circle is complete. But then I saw this front cover of the lady underwater with the tubes, and I thought, like, what if that is forever, and what if the forever race was once human? So then suddenly it was connected to the whole story again, and it was like a prequel. It felt like a prequel, and so the source, it says it all, the source of mankind, the source of the forever race, and obviously there's going to be lots of references to other albums, if you do that. I mean, if it's the race where we come from, there's lots of lyrical references, but also musically, and that was all very. I meant to do that, of course. Deliberate, that's the word I was looking for. It was deliberate, yes.
Oh, yes. And, it's fantastic to hear as a longtime Ayreon fan when I'm hearing it musically or lyrically. It's like I catch a certain point when I'm listening to it. And every time that I listen to the album, I'm able to catch something different and piece together the story. Not even listening to or reading the lyrics, but just like listening to it and just getting that audio experience and just being able to go back and check out everything. It's just so great.
Well, that's the idea, that's really, I really think, the whole story and all the singers and stuff like that, it can really add an extra dimension to the listening experience. So, that's good to hear.
With the last time I was talking to you, you were working on what would be the source. Are you currently working on anything right now, or are you just focusing on the Ayreon universe and with the source promotion?
Yeah, obviously, there's loads of promotion. I mean, this new record company, Mascot, they're having me work really hard. I did a lot of tours in Europe, different countries, promotion tours, and they got loads and loads of interviews, like 3 months of interviews lined up for me. These days it's all promotion for the source, so no time really to think about new plans. And then after that, of course, I'm going to have to set up the whole Ayreon universe thing and edit, rehearse with the band and stuff like that. And after that, the DVD is coming up, editing that and mixing the sound and stuff like that. So it's pretty full. I hope in between, I will get little ideas already for a next project. My plan now, but I never stick to the plan, so it doesn't mean anything. But my plan is to do something more quiet, something more atmospheric, because this album is pretty heavy. It's pretty bombastic.
Oh, that's fantastic to hear. And, going in the press, even though it keeps you extremely busy, it's got to be a great feeling that this many publications, this many people want to talk to you about Ayreon after all this time.
It's incredible, and it's only getting more. And like the pre-sales of the new album are the best we ever had, the best the record company ever had. And it's really growing. At some point I was afraid. With the last album, Ayreon album, sales were going down a little bit, attention was going down a little bit. And it's like, damn it, I think that's also why this time I wanted this amazing cast, it was like, let's make this so amazing that people can't miss it. So when I started Ayreon, I never expected this to happen. It's fantastic, and it's extra weird because it's such weird music. There's so many. It's so eclectic, so many different styles, and never thought people would go for it.
Yeah, and when I first heard about it, I remember all the way back with The Human Equation, like, I was just starting to get into prog, and I saw so many names that I was familiar with, whether it was James LaBrie or Michael Akerfeld or Devin Townsend, and just, like, hearing these names in this style of music I never imagined them necessarily being a part of, but absolutely loving what I'm hearing. And then when I discovered all of the other projects that you've been a part of, and, of course, the previous Ayreon albums at the time, You know, it's just like I was able to get that more eclectic taste, and I have you to thank for that. And
Oh, that's good. That's good.
oh, absolutely. And with the source, I mean, I know it's still early. I know it's only April 12th, which is also my girlfriend and I's 4th anniversary, but I can already say right now this is probably going to end up being my favorite album of 2017, without question.
Whoa. Oh, fantastic, man.
Yeah, it's just, it captures everything I love about Ayreon. I mean, it has all those great heavy moments, getting the growls back in with Tommy's growls, just all the great folk elements that are going on. It captures everything that I love about it, and it's an amazing prequel to the story.
Great, thank you very much. Well, that was the idea for this album. You know, it's very much Ayreon. In fact, at some point I was joking, if someone else would release this album, you know, I would sue them and I would win. That's how Ayreon it is.
Oh yeah, and you know, it's great to see that inspiration was going on. I mean, it's just like no matter what the project is, I mean, like I'm always looking forward to if you make another solo album or Star One or another Ayreon album after this, whatever the case is. I'm always happy to see that you have that inspiration going on, but to see the kind of inspiration that put into the source just makes me as a fan so happy to see.
Great. Yeah, I was really inspired. With this album, I had the same feeling I had only twice before. It was with Electric Castle and with The Human Equation. Those were two albums where everything just came together so smooth. You know, the whole cast and the recording and everything. And it was the same with this album. It was a little bit of the same feeling.
And yeah, I mean, that great intro into the source, which was also released as a cool little documentary video that you like to do, and I'm always such a huge fan of. Did you know that was the song that you wanted to show off first when the world breaks down?
Yeah. As I was working on it, and it just grew, this song, and all these little parts came in. At some point, I thought, "Whoa, this! I should get all 11 singers in this song somehow." And at some point, I got like, "Oh, that would be great as the introduction," because I wanted to do a song as the introduction that has all the stuff that's really representative of the album, so that if people hear this song, you know, and they like it, then I can tell them, "Okay, well, if you like this song, you're gonna like the album."
Oh, yeah, and I remember when I sent you an email, I was talking about that as well, because I've been trying to get my girlfriend into your stuff for so long, and she started to finally get into it when we were at Prog Power and we saw The Gentle Storm, so I was trying to tell her all about Ayreon, and she was kind of interested, but once she heard Tommy Kervik do those high vocals the second time around and the world breaks down, then she finally became a fan.
Cool. Yeah, Tommy was amazing, man. Amazing. Really, he didn't record in my studio, but when he sent it to me and I listened here, and really tears rolling down, like, what a singer. Amazing.
Yeah, and I can say that about every single person who is a part of this album. I mean, it's just, whether it's Ed Warby on the drums or you're playing or any of the singers that show up on the album or whatever the case is, I mean, all of you guys are just absolutely on point, and this album just could not possibly sound better to me as a fan.
Okay, fantastic.
Yeah, it's just, you know, like you said, like everything ran so smooth, and you can tell that's in the album as well. I mean, you don't hear that much kind of like musician frustration while you do hear that in the story. I mean, it just, sometimes you can tell when an artist feels like they're forced to have to make something, and there's nothing forced about this album.
No, it's true. No, it was very natural. Yeah, maybe my previous album was a bit forced in places, but this, it came very natural. Oh, I'm glad you can hear that.
Oh yeah, and it took me a while to be able to do that. I mean, being a musician myself, like sometimes I can hear that when a song feels really forced, or they're just trying to write for a style of music to get attention and they don't necessarily like it. But after all this time, I'm able to see it with the source. I mean, I can just tell that you're having so much fun with the music. While it could be frustrating at some points, it goes relatively smooth. And when everyone comes together with all the great voices, all the great musicians that are a part of it, I mean, it's just, I couldn't ask for a better album from you than The Source.
Well, I'm glad to be of service.
Well, awesome. Well, thank you so much for taking the time once again to talk to me. It is
My pleasure, man. My pleasure. Really.
And my pleasure as well. Being able to do this for the second time. I was so happy last year when I was able to do it for the first time, but now that I'm able to promote brand new Ayreon music for The Source, which is coming out April 28th through Mascot, as a gigantic fanboy of everything that you've done, and easily with The Source being now my favorite album of 2017, that I can't see being toppled at all. It was a tremendous honor to be able to talk to you, and I can't wait to see what you got coming up with the Ayreon universe and everything that comes after that.
Great, Josh. Maybe we'll talk again after the DVD release.